Hi there, and welcome to the Salt and Pepper, where we cook for real life, using real food, and we keep it real simple. And today is a super simple but delicious and flavorful tikka masala that we're gonna make right in the Ninja Foodi. And it is so easy. Wait till you see how I do it. I'm gonna turn the Ninja Foodi into a tandoori oven. But first, we have to get our marinade made. And what I have here to make the marinade is 1 cup of full-fat Greek yogurt. Now, I made this myself in the Ninja Foodi. That's also super easy, and I will link to that recipe right up there. So this is 1 cup. I do recommend using a full fat. Now, you don't have to use Greek yogurt. You could use regular plain yogurt, but I had this Greek yogurt and I wanted to use it up. So that is what I'm going to put in here. You could also use buttermilk if you prefer. I've tried it both ways because I didn't have any yogurt made the first time I tested the recipe. And I think I prefer it with the yogurt, but it's pretty good with the buttermilk too. So that's 1 cup. Next, I have 3 cloves of minced garlic. And that is about 1.5 teaspoons. 2 teaspoons of minced fresh ginger. I do recommend going that extra step with the fresh ginger instead of dried, but you could use dried as well. You would probably use about 3/4 teaspoon or so. Or you could also buy fresh ginger that's already minced in a little tube. It's usually in the refrigerated section of your grocery store, and that works great too, and I've used that before a lot. All right, then we have 1 tablespoon of garam masala, which is a spice blend, and it can be made several different ways. But basically, this one has some cloves, some cinnamon, probably some coriander in it, and I just get it in a jar already made up, and it's garam masala, so you can look that up. And I will link to it below because I had trouble finding it in the local grocery store, so I will link to it because I purchased it on Amazon. And it smells absolutely amazing. There's cloves, cinnamon. Oh, it's just such a warm and lovely spice. Probably some cardamom in there as well. So that's 1 tablespoon. But that's not enough, right? We want to get some other flavors in there. So what I have is 1/2 teaspoon of turmeric, which is going to give this really beautiful color to the marinade. I have 1 teaspoon of paprika. Now, I usually use smoked paprika in many of my recipes. This is not smoked paprika. You want to use just regular paprika. I have 1/2 teaspoon of red pepper flakes, 1.5 teaspoons of fine grind sea salt, and 1 teaspoon of ground cumin. I'm going to add those in. The last thing I'm going to add is the juice from 1/2 of a lemon. I'm just gonna cut that in half. Use my handy juicer from Pampered Chef that I absolutely love. I'm not measuring this, it's not gonna matter. So if you get a little less juice out of your lemon or if you get a little more, it's fine, perfectly fine. I would say that's probably between 2 and 3 teaspoons of juice, and that is perfectly fine. You know what, I'm gonna get the rest of this sea salt out of there. Okay, good. Now, we just wanna mix this up. I'm just gonna use a little whisk. I mean, you could use anything, a little fork or anything like that. So I'm gonna mix it up until all the spices are combined with the yogurt. Oh, it smells so good. Now, the funny thing about this recipe is I have never had chicken tikka masala out at a restaurant. So I wanted to make it, but I wasn't even sure how it was supposed to taste. So thankfully, one of you guys volunteered to test the recipe. So thank you, Amber. I really appreciate all your feedback. And she gave me some good feedback, and I changed the recipe a little bit. And really, the dish is lovely. But I still need your help. I want your feedback. So please, if you like chicken tikka masala, make this version and let me know how it turns out for you and how close I came to getting it right. Because really, I have no idea what it's supposed to taste like. Okay, next thing I have here is 2 pounds of chicken thighs. Now, I chose chicken thighs because they are very forgiving under prolonged periods of high heat. They don't dry out like chicken breast. I really recommend using the thighs in this recipe because, again, we're gonna turn the Ninja Foodi into a really hot tandoori type of an oven. So you want something that can handle it, okay? Handle the long cook time so that we can get all these spices just baked in there, delicious. If you need to use chicken breast, you can. I would cut your pieces a little bit bigger though. So maybe 2-inch pieces, 2-inch chunks. What I have here is about 1.5 inches cubes. And you can see I didn't even trim it. So these are just boneless, skinless chicken thighs that I just cubed up in about 1.5-inch pieces. And that's it. So now I'm gonna mix this all together. You could use tongs if you like. I'm just gonna keep using my scoop and spread until I get the yogurt coated all over the chicken. Oh, this is gonna be so good. Now, it's important to marinate this. So you can marinate it in the refrigerator for 30 to 60 minutes. I would prefer 60 minutes. I think that's a good time frame to get these flavors really well combined. Or you could make it up the day before and refrigerate it overnight, or any period in between those 1 hour and 24 hours. All right, that looks great. So now you could put it into a plastic baggie if you'd like to save room in the refrigerator. But what I'm gonna do is use this handy dandy little silicone topper that I'm gonna be showing you guys in many videos, including the one for key lime pie, which I'm gonna link to right up there, and how wonderful these are to use in the Ninja Foodi when you're going under pressure. But they also serve as a great covering for the refrigerator. So it creates a little seal. It's on there really good. Now I couldn't really lift up the bowl with it because the bowl's pretty heavy, but it is on there nice. And I can put this in the refrigerator, and then after it's done marinating, we'll be back and we'll get the Ninja Foodi fired up. All right, so the chicken has been marinating, and I actually let it marinate quite a bit longer than I did during my test recipes because I just wanted to see, did it develop more flavor or not? So the minimum amount of time is about 1 hour that I've done the marinade, and this one went over 8 hours. So we can see if that helps or not, and then I can let you know. So I can take my little top off here, which I'm still like so excited about these. And oh, the smell immediately is just so lovely. Now I have the Ninja Foodi here with the basket in. I'm using the 6.5 quart Ninja Foodi, but you could use the 8 quart if that's what you have. This recipe would be fine in both. And I'm just gonna dump these in to the basket. They're still cold, so they're a little stiff there, but all right, there we go. Make sure you get all of the marinade in there. You want all of it to be on that chicken. Then I just kind of spread it around. I mean, it's not going to be in a single layer, and that is fine. No problems whatsoever. All righty. That looks good. Put that bowl over there. And now what we're gonna do is, I told you we're gonna turn this into like a tandoor oven. And basically what it is, it's like a small pot and it gets super, super hot. Now, we can only go up to 425 degrees with the Ninja Foodi, so it's not gonna get as hot, but it really does a nice job with the air circulating, that we get all this yogurt marinade baked into the chicken, and that's what gives it the flavor. So this step is super important to do. We're gonna close the Tender Crisp lid, and we're gonna select the broil function, and then we're gonna take it up to 30 minutes. 30 minutes is the maximum amount that it will let you set the time for. This might take 30 minutes, it might take 35, but we'll be checking it and turning those pieces about every 10 to 15 minutes anyway, so we'll know. And then you just hit the start button and let it broil. You do not have to preheat for this recipe. It's gonna be in there long enough that you don't have to. But if you wanted to, you certainly could. That will not hurt anything, and it might actually speed up the cooking of the chicken. So while the chicken and the marinade is broiling in the Ninja Foodi, this is a wonderful time to get the prep work done. So I'm going to be dicing an onion, mincing my garlic, grating my ginger. I'll measure out all the spices for the next step, squeeze my lemon, and then we'll be all ready to go. So after the chicken is done cooking, we can make that sauce, get our rice ready, and get dinner on the table. All right, so the Ninja Foodie's been broiling the chicken with the marinade for about 10 minutes, and now we're gonna flip it. So let's see. Oh, and it's already starting to get some browning on top. This is exactly what you want to see. This is why it's important to flip as well, because you want to move what's on the bottom to the top. So just go in with some tongs and just flip it around. You don't have to be exact about it or anything like that, because it's all going to get nice and brown and cooked by the end of the 30 to 35 minutes. All right, that looks great. Shake off any extra there, and we will put the lid back down and keep on going. Meanwhile, I'm gonna finish up my prep. All right, so the chicken and the marinade's been broiling another 10 minutes. Time to take a peek and do another flip. Oh, this is beautiful. This is exactly what you wanna see. It's not burning. Those brown areas are just baking on that marinade. That is exactly what you want it to look like. This is beautiful. All right, so we're gonna give another flip because we still have pieces that, number one, aren't cooked all the way through, but also haven't gotten that beautiful brown color. And we want pretty much all of them to have that brown color by the end of this broil time. All right, that looks really good. So we're gonna go ahead and go back down for another 10, and then we'll probably even, adjust that up maybe another 5 or 10 minutes. You don't wanna rush this process because this is key to developing the flavor. Meanwhile, I've got all my mise en place, or everything in place, going on here, and I really encourage you to do the same. So I'm measuring out my liquids, I'm double checking my spices, I'm keeping my copy of the recipe right here so I can refer to it. And that way, when the chicken's done, then we can start adding in all these ingredients and get this tikka masala whipped up really fast. All right, so we are coming down to the last couple of seconds of the 30-minute broil, and I'm gonna check it, flip it, and determine if we need to go 5 or 10 more minutes. I'll let it go through the whole cycle and cool down though, which only takes just a second. All right, it's looking really good, really good. Now it's still a little wet, so there's pieces here that are just a little wet. You don't want that. You want them to be completely like dry and brown. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it back on broil, and I'm gonna do 5 minutes and then check and then determine whether we need to go another 5. So anywhere between 30 and 40 minutes should be the right timing for this. So hit the broil and take it to 5 minutes and then hit the start. Meanwhile, I am almost finished doing all my prep work. So this is good timing. It takes about that long just to measure out everything and double check everything. And then this dish is gonna come together like that. All right, so we just have less than a minute to go. What I did was I checked it after the 35 minutes, and there were still a few pieces that I wanted to get a little bit more brown, so I put it back on the broil for 4 more minutes. Should be good now though. So we'll just let it count down and go through the cool down. Meanwhile, I'll let you know what I have here going on. I have a 1.5 cups of basmati rice that I will rinse before I put it in the pressure cooker. I have 1 tablespoon of brown sugar. I'm gonna talk about that a little bit later because that is definitely optional. I have 6 cloves of garlic, 3 of which I minced and 3 I just crushed with the back of my knife. You could mince them all if you like, but I kind of like the combination of the more garlicky flavor with a little bit more mild flavor. I have 1 tablespoon of grated ginger, 1 pretty large Vidalia onion, so it's about 1.5 cups to 2 cups of onion. I have 1 14.5 ounce can of fire roasted tomatoes. I'm gonna talk about that as well because Amber, who tested this recipe for me, because remember, I don't know what tikka masala is supposed to taste like. So she tested it for me. She made some recommendations on these 2 ingredients, and I'm gonna go over why I decided to leave them in and give you some options for changing them up. I have 1 13.5 ounce can of coconut milk, not coconut cream, coconut milk, some cilantro, 1 cup of chicken stock, and my spice blend. So let's go through that. Hopefully I can remember the amounts here. I have 1 tablespoon of the garam masala. I have 1 teaspoon of turmeric, 1 teaspoon of coriander, 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt, 2 teaspoons of paprika, and a half a teaspoon of red pepper flakes. We like our food on the spicy side, so you can either omit that altogether, add in just a 1/4 teaspoon, or add it in after the fact and spice it how you like it. Either way is fine. All right, so let's take a peek. Yep, that looks perfect. So everything looks nice and brown. It's no longer wet with the marinade. That's all been baked on. And now we just take the basket out. I'm just gonna put it on my clean counter, but you could certainly set it on, you know, some sort of a plate or something, because we're not gonna put this back in quite yet. Now, there is drippings in the bottom of the pot, and that's fine. You just wanna leave those alone. There's a little bit of oil in there and some of the marinade. We're gonna go ahead and use that to saute our vegetables. So now we're gonna turn the Ninja Foodi on, the sear saute function. High is what we want, and hit the start button. And put in our 1.5 to 2 cups of diced onions. Those are diced about 1/4 inch dice. Just get those kind of moving around here in the pan. The smell is amazing. Some of these onions are kind of stuck together, so I'm just kind of chopping those up a little bit. All right, looks good. Now we're gonna let that saute for about a minute or 2, and then we will add in our garlic and our ginger. Go 1 more minute, then we'll put all the rest of the ingredients in and get it under pressure. So while that's cooking, let me just talk about some of the suggestions that Amber had about the recipe. She thought it was a little sweet, and she suggested that I omit what originally was white sugar. So I tested the recipe again without the sugar, and to me, it just was a little too acidic. I am really into balancing flavors, and it was just a little on the acidic side. So I tested it again and added in 1 tablespoon of brown sugar, and I thought that was perfect. It was a little less sweet than the white sugar, but it really had a nice balanced flavor. So I've left that in the recipe. However, it is optional. You do not have to add it in, and if you want to try it without it and then add it in at the very end, if it is a little too acidic, that's perfectly fine. Fire roasted tomatoes. She suggested that I skip the fire roasted and go with regular diced tomatoes, and I just chose not to. Number 1 is because I stock fire roasted tomatoes. I use them all the time. That's what I had on hand, and I really love the depth of flavor. And it goes perfectly with the roasted chicken. So I decided to keep those in, but you could use regular diced tomatoes. You could also use a can of tomato sauce. That's fine too. That's very common in a lot of tikka masala recipes. All right, so let's get this stirred around a little bit. Oh gosh, it smells so good. All right, I think it's good. We can go ahead and add in our garlic. And our ginger. And we'll let that saute about another minute, and then we'll add in everything else. Meanwhile, what I'm gonna do is take the rice over to the sink and give it a good rinse until the water flows clear. And then I'm gonna put it into a 6-inch Fat Daddy-O pan. This is a 2-inch height, and that's sort of important for this recipe because you want the rack to be in the high position so that you clear everything that's in the bottom of the pot. But if you don't have one, you need to use a 3-inch or an 8-inch pan. You can do that. You'll just know that when you put the rack in, the bottom of the rack is going to touch the sauce. But I have done that as well, and it works fine. It's just a little bit messier. All right, so this is gonna cook for just a minute. I'm gonna go rinse my rice, and we'll be right back. All right, so I've got 1.5 cups of the basmati rice in the 6-inch by 2-inch Fat Daddy-O pan, and I have not added the water to it yet. You don't want to add the water too soon or the rice will start to absorb it, and you may overcook it when we go under pressure. Now I'm just gonna give this a stir, make sure that nothing is stuck to the bottom of this, the Ninja Foodi pot, and then we're gonna add in the rest of our ingredients. Well, actually, not all of them. There's 2 ingredients that we don't add till the very end, and I'll go over that in a little bit. 1 cup of chicken stock. The can of coconut milk. Give that a little stir. I'm so excited about this. All right, our spice blend. Now the spices sort of sometimes don't dissolve right away. Don't worry about that. They will under pressure. Our 1 tablespoon of brown sugar. Our can of fire roasted tomatoes. And you can stir these in, that's no problem. There's plenty of liquid. We're not gonna have any issues going under pressure. And 1 tablespoon, or the juice of half of a lemon. Now we're not gonna put the chicken in because it doesn't need to cook anymore, okay? So you don't wanna put it in to pressure cook for 8 minutes or it'll become really tough and rubbery. It is fully cooked already. Just gonna stack those up here. And I'm gonna get the rack, put the rack in, and then we're going to dump in our 1.5 cups of water. So it's an equal ratio of rice to water when you're doing it this way with the basmati rice. Just kind of give that a stir around. Now you could make a little less rice if you wanted to make it fresh each time. If you're not, if you're gonna have some for leftovers, just do a cup to a cup. All right, put that right on top. Now, when you have a pan in the Ninja Foodi that's on the rack in the upper position and it's sticking up a little bit above the pot, that is fine, but keep it pushed to the front. The lid is a little domed, so we're gonna have plenty of room for the lid to go on and we can go under pressure, but you don't want it towards the back because it could interfere with the pressure pin and the valve. So we don't wanna do that. All right, put the pressure lid on. Make sure it's on the seal position, and we're gonna go under pressure. High is what we want. The time is going to be 8 minutes. Hit start. Now, I'm not exactly sure how long it's gonna take to come up to pressure, but if my memory serves me correctly from my test runs of the recipe, it doesn't take that long because all that sauce is still, it's a little hot, a little warm in there. But I would still think it's a pretty full pot, so it's probably gonna take about 8 minutes or so. Well, this is what happens in real life, guys. I looked over here and I was like, whoops, I forgot the cilantro. So I have the pot, it's already, starting to build the pressure, but it hasn't. I mean, it's been 2 minutes. So I can just go ahead and open up. There's no pressure that has been built. I'm gonna open it up. I've gotta remove this. And it's not hot, so I can touch it. I mean, this is what happens, right? Take out the rack again. And real quick, I have some cilantro. And some of it's really stemmy and some of it isn't. So I'm gonna separate it out a little bit. This is the last of a bunch, and I'm not one to waste any kind of food. So when you're making like a sauce like this that's going under pressure, using the stems of the cilantro is a great way to get the most value out of the bunch of cilantro that you have. The stems have just as much flavor. So I'm just gonna, and they soften up so much under pressure, you won't even know they're there. So I'm just pulling out what I think is about 1/2 of a cup, leaving as many of the better looking pieces of cilantro for garnish. So that looks good. Now I'm just gonna roughly dice it. Get those stems kind of diced up into little pieces. Oh, it smells. I love cilantro. Now, if you don't like cilantro, because I know a lot of people do not like it, you don't have to add it in. But I think it adds great flavor to this dish. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and add that in. And just give it a little stir. Put the rack back on, the rice back in. Lid back on. Now you might have to push down just a little bit There we go, perfect. All right, so now it's gonna continue to build that pressure, and then the pin will pop up. We'll go under for 8 minutes, and then we'll do an immediate release. We'll get the chicken stirred in, and then we'll be able to eat. All right, so the pot took just 8 minutes to come up to pressure, so that's pretty quick. We went under high pressure for 8 minutes, and now I'm about to do the immediate release as soon as the little, what do you call it? Buzzer? Bell? Ding? Whatever it is, it's kind of low, isn't it? All right, here we go. All right, the red button depressed, so now we can open up the lid. Always do that away from you. Set that over there. All right, so I'm gonna get the rack out, or actually I'm gonna take the rice off first. And this is about all you can fit in this 6 by 2 pan. You can see it's totally filled. The rack, because of the way it's designed, you can't fit an 8-inch on here because of the way the little handles are. So, all right, so what I want to do here is just go ahead and fluff the rice a little bit. I'm gonna put on my glove so I can hold the pan. It looks perfect. It's cooked perfectly. Oh, wow, that looks amazing. All right, and then I'm just gonna cover it and let it, just let it sit here until we're ready to serve. I could probably even transfer it into another bowl, but I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm just gonna put that over top just to kind of keep some of the steam in, keep it warm. But this next part doesn't take very long, so it'll be fine. It will not cool off. So I'm gonna set this over here, get the rack out. Just set that on a paper towel for now. And now we're gonna add in the rest of the ingredients. I feel like I keep saying that, the rest of the ingredients, and then there's always like one more, right? All right, so this is not hot, I can just touch it, but I'm gonna keep my glove on because I'm probably gonna hold on to that pot. So I'm gonna dump the chicken in. And then what we have here is 2 tablespoons of salted butter. I'm gonna put that in there. That's optional, but it really does add just another little bit of flavor. And we have 1 6-ounce can of tomato paste. 1 cup of peas that are frozen. I just took them out. And this is optional. I've actually made this with diced up zucchini that I put in right at this time as well, and that tastes delicious. So if you don't like peas, switch up for zucchini or omit either one. You know, you don't have to put any of them in. And then we've got a little bit of cilantro, and I'm gonna go ahead and take off some of the leaves, and we're gonna just chop those up roughly. Now I'm not gonna put the stems in because we're not going under pressure again, and I don't wanna bite into a hard stem. So I'm just getting the leaves off. And you can also reserve some for garnish on your plate. And we want probably about 1/2 cup or so. All right, that looks good. It might be a little less than 1/2 cup, but that's okay. All right, so I'm just gonna take a knife and just roughly chop these. All right, perfect. Now, give it a nice stir. This smells absolutely amazing. So you could do 1 or 2 things at this point. You could put it on the slow cook function on low if you're not gonna serve it right away. Or you can do what I'm gonna do, which is just to put the lid down and let the sauce thicken. It's already thickening up quite nicely. So I'm just gonna put the lid down for 5 or 10 minutes until it's the consistency you like. That'll give those peas enough time to, you know, thaw and just heat up in the sauce a little bit. All right, that looks great. Everything's stirred in. The smell is amazing, really amazing. I cannot wait to taste this. So we're gonna just wait 10 more minutes, and then we're gonna plate, and then we're gonna eat. All right, time for the fun part. Now, if you're enjoying my videos, I'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe to my channel. There is a subscribe button right there in the bottom right corner. And you can also hit the notification bell and get notified when I put out new videos. And let's get to tasting. All right, Chicken Tikka Masala in the Ninja Foodi. So I have the rice here. I'm just gonna uncover it. It's still super, super hot. It's steaming. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of that out and put it into my bowl. Hopefully I don't make a mess while I do this. You might wanna transfer this into a bigger container. It's pretty full there. All right, that's good. That's enough for me to taste. And now let's get to the tikka masala. It is a gorgeous color. Oh, it just looks and smells absolutely amazing. So let's put a little cilantro on there just for some garnish, and let's get to it. First, I'm gonna taste the rice without anything so I can tell you whether or not I think it is perfectly done. Now, it's not sticking together, so that's good. I don't like mushy, stuck together rice, so that's good. Now, if I was eating it plain, I would probably want it cooked another minute maybe, but because it's gonna absorb the sauce, it's perfect right now. It just has a little bit of tooth to it. Really good, like a good al dente pasta. All right, let's taste the chicken. Wow. That is so delicious. It is melt in your mouth tender. The flavors are just intense and wonderful. And you know what? It's not that spicy. So it's a nice level of spices without being like really hot. It's really nice. All right, so I'm gonna get some sauce with some rice and let's grab a pea here. Make sure those peas are heated all the way through. I'm in heaven. So as soon as you get the rice in with the sauce, it is perfection. So this recipe and the timing, spot on, let me tell you. All right, so this is another winner in our Ninja Foodi. I'm so excited about this, but I do need your help. If you like chicken tikka masala, I really need you to make this recipe because remember, I don't know what it's supposed to taste like, so I need your feedback. So when you make it, tag me on your favorite social media platform @TheSaltedPepper and use the hashtag #TheFoodieConnection, and I will be searching for them and I'll look forward to hearing your feedback.